The iron collar burns against Vanessa's throat as Amanda's perfectly manicured hand yanks the chain forward, forcing her to stumble onto her knees before the Crimson Council. The ancient throne room falls silent, except for Vanessa's ragged breathing and the satisfied click of Amanda's heels against marble stained with centuries of blood. "Show them," Amanda commands, her voice dripping with false sweetness that makes Vanessa's stomach turn. "Show the council what you've done, little thief." Vanessa's hands shake as she clutches the front of her torn servant's uniform, trying to hold together fabric that Amanda deliberately shredded in front of the gathered vampire nobility. Every eye in the vast chamber fixes on her. Hundreds of immortal predators watching her humiliation, with expressions ranging from disgust to hunger. At the center of the semicircular dais, 7 ancient vampires sit in judgment, their faces carved from marble and malice. "I didn't steal anything," Vanessa whispers, but her voice cracks halfway through. She hates how small she sounds, how human and breakable in this room of eternal beings who could crush her with a thought. Amanda laughs, the sound like breaking glass. "Oh, but you did. You stole from Lord Ashton's private collection. You entered his sanctuary, his most sacred chamber, and you drank from the crystal decanter that has sat untouched for 3,000 years. She circles Vanessa like a shark, her crimson gown trailing behind her. "The blood of the first, the origin essence that our kind has protected since the beginning of our race. And you, a pathetic human servant, defiled it with your mortal lips." The council erupts in furious whispers. Vanessa's vision swims as panic constricts her chest. She wants to scream that it was an accident, that she'd been cleaning Lord Ashton's chambers as ordered, that the decanter had shattered when Amanda deliberately knocked over the shelf, that the blood had spilled across Vanessa's lips before she could even process what was happening. But Amanda had made sure no one else was present. It's her word against a vampire noble's, and Vanessa knows which one the council will believe. "The penalty for desecrating the first blood is dawn execution," the eldest council member announces, his voice like stones grinding together. "We will stake her to the eastern courtyard and let the sun cleanse her corruption from this world." Vanessa's heart stops. Dawn is less than 3 hours away. "Please," she gasps, and she hates the desperate sob that escapes her throat. "Please, I didn't mean to. I was just trying to clean—" "Silence!" Amanda's hand cracks across Vanessa's face, hard enough to split her lip. Blood wells up, and Vanessa tastes copper on her tongue. "You don't speak unless spoken to, human. You are nothing. You have always been nothing. Even Lord Ashton won't save you from this." Her eyes gleam with triumph, and Vanessa finally understands. This was never about the blood. This is about Amanda removing a rival she doesn't even know she has, eliminating any possibility that Lord Ashton might ever look at his human servant the way Amanda has desperately wanted him to look at her for centuries. The massive oak doors at the far end of the throne room crash open with enough force to crack the stone frame. Every vampire in the chamber goes utterly still, their predatory instincts recognizing an apex presence that makes even ancient nobility nervous. Lord Ashton strides into the room like vengeance incarnate. He's over 6 feet of lethal grace, wrapped in black clothing that seems to absorb the light, his dark hair falling across features too beautiful and too cruel to be anything but supernatural. But it's his eyes that make Vanessa's breath catch. Ancient gold with flecks of crimson that seem to see through flesh and bone to the soul beneath. Those eyes sweep the room once before locking onto Vanessa kneeling on the floor, bleeding and terrified, and something in them ignites. The temperature drops 20 degrees in an instant. Frost spreads across the marble floor in delicate patterns that all point toward the center of the room, toward Amanda, who has gone white as death despite her undead nature. "Remove your hand from what belongs to me," Ashton says quietly, but his voice carries to every corner of the vast chamber with the weight of absolute authority. He's not just a lord. He's the oldest vampire in the kingdom after the council itself, powerful enough that even they must acknowledge his claim to territory and possessions. Amanda releases the chain so fast it clatters against the floor. "My lord, I was simply bringing the matter to the council's attention as is proper. You were framing an innocent to satisfy your jealousy." Ashton crosses the distance between them in a blur of motion that Vanessa's human eyes can't track. One moment he's at the door. The next, he's standing over her with Amanda backing away slowly. "Did you think I wouldn't know the instant my collection was disturbed? Did you truly believe you could manipulate events in my own household without my awareness?" The council shifts uneasily. The eldest clears his throat. "Lord Ashton, the evidence suggests that Lady Amanda deliberately shattered a priceless artifact and forced my servant to encounter the spilled blood, then used her influence to ensure the scene appeared damning." Ashton's gaze never leaves Amanda, who has gone from white to gray. "I have surveillance crystals throughout my private chambers. I have watched the entire incident 3 times. Would the council care to see?" The silence that follows is deafening. Amanda's mouth opens and closes soundlessly, all her vicious confidence evaporating. Around the room, nobles who had been ready to watch Vanessa burn begin exchanging uncomfortable glances. No one wants to be associated with Amanda now that her deception has been exposed. "That won't be necessary," the eldest council member says stiffly. "If you vouch for the servant's innocence, I do more than vouch for her." Ashton reaches down, and Vanessa flinches before she can stop herself. But his touch is gentle as he unfastens the iron collar, his fingers brushing her throat in a way that sends unexpected electricity racing through her nervous system. "I claim her under blood right. As of this moment, Vanessa is no longer a servant. She is under my direct protection, answerable only to me, and any who threaten her threaten my house itself." The reaction is immediate and explosive. Vampires throughout the chamber erupt in protests and objections. Blood right is ancient law, reserved for vampires claiming other vampires as mates or protected bloodkin. It has never been extended to a human. The implications are staggering. Ashton pulls Vanessa to her feet with easy strength, positioning himself between her and the council. "Does anyone challenge my right?" No one speaks. Whatever else he might be, Ashton is too powerful to challenge directly. The council may not approve, but they cannot overrule him without proof that Vanessa poses a genuine threat to vampire society. The matter is settled then. Ashton turns to Amanda, and the look in his eyes makes even Vanessa's blood run cold. "Lady Amanda, you are banished from my territory for 1 century. You will leave before dawn, or I will personally ensure you never leave at all. The council may do with you as they wish beyond my borders, but you are no longer welcome in my sight." Amanda's face contorts with rage and humiliation. "You're choosing a human over me? A worthless mortal who will be dust in decades. You tried to murder someone under my household protection to satisfy your obsession. You desecrated sacred blood with your scheming. You brought shame to your house and mine with your petty jealousy. Ashton's voice remains terrifyingly calm. Be grateful I'm allowing you to leave with your immortal life intact. Many would not be so generous. Amanda looks to the council, but they're already turning away, unwilling to intervene in a dispute where she's so clearly in the wrong. With a final hate-filled glare at Vanessa, she storms from the chamber, her footsteps echoing in the oppressive silence. The moment the doors close behind her, Vanessa's legs give out. Ashton catches her before she hits the ground, lifting her effortlessly into his arms. The position should feel demeaning, but instead it feels safe in a way nothing has felt since her parents died and left her alone to seek work in the vampire courts. The session is concluded, Ashton announces to the room at large. My household affairs are my own. This matter will not be discussed further. He carries her from the throne room without waiting for dismissal, without acknowledging the hundreds of stunned eyes following their exit. Vanessa knows she should say something, should thank him or explain, or ask what happens now, but exhaustion and shock have stolen her voice. She rests her head against his chest and hears the slow, steady beat of his heart. Slower than human, but present, real. Proof that vampires aren't quite as dead as the stories claim. They move through corridors of black marble and red velvet, past tapestries depicting ancient battles and blood rituals, deeper into the residential wing where only the most powerful vampires maintain chambers. Vanessa has cleaned these halls before, but she's never entered any of the private rooms. Servants don't go where they're not explicitly summoned. Ashton's quarters occupy the entire top floor of the western tower. He shoulders through heavy doors carved with protective sigils and carries her into a space that defies her expectations entirely. She'd imagined something dark and gothic, all stone and coldness. Instead, the rooms are warm and lived in, filled with books and comfortable furniture, artwork that spans centuries of human and vampire history. Floor-to-ceiling windows look out over the kingdom, currently showing the pre-dawn darkness that would have been her execution hour. He sets her down on a sofa near the fireplace, where flames burn with blue-white heat that produces warmth without smoke. Then he disappears through a doorway and returns with a basin of warm water and clean cloths. "May I?" he asks, kneeling before her with the cloth in hand. Vanessa nods, unable to process this bizarre reversal where the most powerful vampire in the kingdom is tending her injuries like a servant. He cleans the blood from her split lip with careful precision, his touch so gentle it makes her throat tight. "Why?" she finally whispers. "Why did you save me?" Ashton's golden eyes meet hers, and for the first time, she sees something vulnerable beneath the ancient power. "Because the moment Amanda shattered that decanter and the first's blood touched your lips, our entire world shifted in ways the council doesn't yet comprehend." He sets aside the cloth and takes her hand, turning it palm up. "Tell me, Vanessa, have you noticed anything unusual in the past few hours? Any changes in your perception or physical sensation?" Now that he mentions it, Vanessa realizes she can see details in the dimly lit room that should be invisible to human eyes. She can count the individual threads in the tapestry across the room. She can hear conversations happening 3 floors below them, smell the roses in the garden outside despite closed windows in the distance. And beneath it all, there's a constant low hum in her blood, like electricity waiting to be unleashed. "What's happening to me?" Her voice rises with panic. "Am I turning? But I wasn't bitten." "You're not turning into a vampire." Ashton squeezes her hand gently. "You're becoming something the world hasn't seen in 3,000 years. That blood you ingested, it wasn't from a vampire. It was from the first himself, the original being from whom all vampire bloodlines descended. Pure, undiluted, impossibly potent. When it entered your human system, it didn't kill you or convert you. It fused with your mortal blood and created something entirely new. Vanessa stares at him, unable to process the implications. I don't understand. The first was neither human nor vampire. He was something else entirely. A being of pure blood magic that existed before our categories and classifications. He created the vampire race by sharing his essence, but he always diluted it, knowing that pure exposure would destroy an unprepared vessel. Ashton stands and begins pacing, his movements agitated in a way she's never seen from the normally controlled Lord. For 3 millennia, I've protected that decanter, waiting for a sign of what to do with it. Every vampire who has tried to consume it has died screaming. The power is too much, too foreign to our transformed physiology. But you. He turns to face her, and there's wonder in his expression. You survived. You integrated it. Your human blood, still alive and growing and changing, accepted the first's essence and merged with it perfectly. What does that mean? Vanessa asks, though part of her already knows the answer, can feel it humming in her veins. It means you are the new origin point. You carry the first's power in a living bloodstream, and every vampire in existence will be able to sense it once the transformation completes at dawn. Ashton returns to kneel before her, his expression grave. They will want you, Vanessa. Some will want to drain you, to consume your blood and gain that power for themselves. Others will want to bind you, to control you, to use you as a weapon or a symbol. The council will see you as a threat to their authority. Amanda will want you dead out of sheer spite. Every political faction in the vampire world will try to claim you. The panic that had been building in Vanessa's chest crystallizes into cold terror. Then I have to run. I have to hide before... You can't. Ashton's hands frame her face, forcing her to meet his eyes. The bond is already forming between us. I tasted the first's blood centuries ago when he granted me permission to guard the decanter. You consumed it fully. Our blood recognizes each other, calls to each other. By dawn, every vampire within 100 miles will know you're connected to me through power that predates their houses and their politics. Running would only make you vulnerable, and I... His voice roughens with an emotion she can't name. I will not allow anyone to harm you. The blood right, Vanessa breathes. That's why you claimed me. Not just to save me from execution, but because the moment you integrated the first's blood, you became the most valuable and most endangered being in our world. Blood right puts you under my protection in a way the council cannot easily dismiss. It warns others that harming you means war with my house. It gives us time to manage the transformation and decide what comes next. His thumbs stroke her cheekbones, and the tenderness of the gesture makes her heart race. But I cannot lie to you, Vanessa. I claimed you also, because the idea of anyone else possessing you, controlling you, owning you, it ignites a rage in me that I haven't felt in centuries. You are mine to protect now, mine to guard, mine to... He stops himself, jaw clenching. Yours to what? Vanessa whispers. We should focus on your safety first, Ashton says, withdrawing his hands and standing abruptly. The transformation will complete at dawn. We have perhaps an hour to prepare you for what happens when the first rays of sunlight hit the horizon. But Vanessa grabs his hand before he can pull away completely. You were going to say something else. Yours to what? He looks down at their joined hands, and when he speaks, his voice is raw with barely controlled intensity. Mine to keep. Mine to claim as my eternal mate if you choose to accept me. The blood bond between us isn't just political protection, Vanessa. It's the beginning of something far more permanent. When you integrated the First's essence, you became compatible with vampire bonding in ways no human has ever been. I can feel your heartbeat as if it's my own. I can sense your emotions, your fears, your attraction. He stops again, clearly fighting for control. Vanessa's breath catches. You can feel that I'm attracted to you? Since the moment I carried you from that throne room. Perhaps even before, when you would clean my chambers and try so hard not to look at me directly. A slight smile curves his lips. I noticed you too, you know. The way you moved so carefully through my space, respecting my possessions, leaving everything pristine. The way you never gossiped with the other servants or tried to leverage your access to my private rooms for political advantage. The way you hummed while you worked when you thought no one was listening. Heat rises in Vanessa's cheeks. I didn't think you paid attention to servants. I paid attention to you. Ashton pulls her to her feet, his hands settling on her waist. They're standing close enough now that she has to tilt her head back to maintain eye contact. I have walked this earth for thousands of years, Vanessa. I have known countless beings, human and vampire alike. I have taken lovers and forgotten their faces. I have ruled territories and watched empires fall. But I have never felt what I felt tonight when I saw you on your knees, bleeding and terrified, and realized that Amanda's scheming had inadvertently given me the one thing I thought impossible. What's that? A mate who could stand beside me as an equal. A partner who carries power that rivals or exceeds my own. A woman who can survive in my world, not as prey or possession, but as a force in her own right. His hand slides up to cup the back of her neck, fingers tangling in her hair. The First's blood chose you, Vanessa. It saw something in you worthy of this power, and his eyes flash crimson. I want to see it too. I want to watch you transform. I want to stand with you when the council tries to control you. I want to protect you from every threat until you're strong enough to destroy them yourself. I want me, Vanessa finishes softly. You want me. So much it terrifies me, Ashton admits. I am not a gentle man, Vanessa. I have done terrible things to protect what's mine. If you accept this bond, if you choose to stay with me through the transformation, I will be possessive and demanding and utterly unwilling to share you with anyone. I will expect you to rule at my side, to learn to wield your power, to become everything you're capable of becoming. And I will give you everything in return. My protection, my loyalty, my devotion, my blood and my name, and every resource at my command. But I need you to understand what you're choosing. Vanessa's mind races. 12 hours ago, she was a servant scrubbing floors and trying to stay invisible. Now she's standing in the arms of the most powerful vampire in the kingdom, being offered a future she never imagined possible. She should be terrified. She should be overwhelmed. But instead, she feels the rightness of it settling into her bones, as if this moment has been inevitable since the first drop of the first's blood touched her tongue. "What happens if I say no?" she asks, not because she wants to refuse, but because she needs to know she has a choice. "I will still protect you. Blood right stands regardless of whether you accept the mate bond. I will help you master your abilities, give you resources to establish your own territory if you wish, ensure you have every advantage to survive in vampire society." Ashton's expression is carefully neutral. But the personal bond, the romantic connection, the possibility of becoming eternal partners, that requires your consent. I will not force it upon you simply because our blood sings to each other. Vanessa takes a shaky breath, then makes her decision. "I choose you. I choose this. I choose—" She doesn't get to finish because Ashton kisses her with careful intensity, as if she's something precious and dangerous all at once. His lips are cool against hers, but they warm where they touch, and when he pulls back, his eyes have gone completely crimson. "Say it clearly," he demands, his voice rough. "I need to hear you say it clearly so there's no doubt, no room for anyone to claim you were coerced." "I accept the mate bond," Vanessa says firmly, holding his burning gaze. "I accept you, Ashton, as my eternal partner. I choose this transformation, this power, this future. I choose us." The effect is instantaneous. The humming in her blood explodes into a symphony, and she gasps as power floods through her system like liquid fire. Ashton catches her as her knees buckle, lifting her into his arms once more. "The transformation is accelerating," he says urgently, carrying her toward the bedroom. "The mate bond is amplifying the first's essence. You need to be somewhere safe when it completes." He lays her on the massive bed, and Vanessa can barely process the luxury of silk sheets and soft pillows because her entire body feels like it's being rewritten from the inside out. Her heart races, then slows, then settles into a rhythm that matches Ashton's exactly. Her senses expand until she can hear individual heartbeats in the castle below, smell the unique scent signature of every vampire in residence, see the energy patterns that flow through the ancient building. "What's happening?" she gasps. "It hurts. It doesn't hurt. I can't." "I'm here." Ashton lies beside her, pulling her against his chest. "I've got you. Just breathe through it. Let the power settle. Don't fight it." Through the windows, the first hint of dawn begins to lighten the eastern sky. Vanessa has watched vampires retreat from sunrise her entire time in service, seen them flinch from even indirect light. But as the sun breaks the horizon and golden rays spill into the room, she feels no pain, no burning, no instinct to flee. Instead, she feels gloriously, impossibly alive. The transformation completes in a rush of sensation that leaves her breathless. When it fades, she's still lying in Ashton's arms, still human warm and breathing, but fundamentally changed in ways she's only beginning to understand. "How do you feel?" Ashton asks softly. Vanessa takes inventory of her new reality. Her heart still beats, but slower now, steadier, as if it could continue for centuries without tiring. Her body still needs breath and warmth, but less urgently, as if these are preferences rather than requirements. The power in her blood sings constantly, a baseline of energy she can already sense she'll be able to direct and shape once she learns control. "Alive," she whispers. more alive than I've ever been. Is this what you feel? Is this what it's like to be vampire? No. Ashton's voice holds wonder. This is what it's like to be you. You're not vampire, Vanessa. You're not human either anymore. You're the first of a new bloodline, a new type of being entirely. You're the bridge between mortality and immortality, life and undeath, human potential and vampire power. You are what the first was before he created our race. The implications are staggering. Vanessa sits up slowly, testing her new body's capabilities. Everything responds with liquid grace, her movements more efficient and controlled than they've ever been. She looks at her hands and sees them exactly as they were. No claws, no pallor, still her own skin tone and shape. But she knows they could tear through steel now if she wanted them to. The council is going to lose their minds, she says with sudden certainty. They're going to see this as a threat to their entire power structure. Undoubtedly. Ashton sits up beside her, his expression grim. Which is why we need to be strategic about your emergence. The blood right claim buys us some protection, but they'll test it. They'll send challengers and troublemakers to assess your power level, to see if you're genuinely strong enough to deserve the status I've granted you. We need to be prepared. A knock at the door interrupts them. Ashton tenses, moving to place himself between Vanessa and the entrance. Who approaches? It's Darius, my lord. The voice from the hallway is familiar. Ashton's second in command, a vampire old enough to remember the first personally. The council has called an emergency session. They demand Lady Vanessa's presence at sunset to determine her status in vampire society. Ashton's jaw clenches. Tell them we will attend. There's more, my lord. Lady Amanda has returned with 12 allied houses. She's claiming you used illegal compulsion to force the blood right bond, and she's demanding you be stripped of your territory and title until a proper investigation can be completed. She has enough support to force a formal challenge. The room goes very cold, very quickly. Vanessa feels Ashton's rage like a physical presence, frost forming on the windows despite the morning sunlight. What does that mean? Vanessa asks quietly. A formal challenge? It means Amanda has convinced other nobles that I've overstepped my authority, and they're using it as an excuse to try to claim my territory and power. Ashton's eyes blaze crimson. A formal challenge requires me to prove my right to rule through combat or contest. If I lose, everything I've built for 3,000 years becomes available for redistribution among the victors. And you, his voice goes deadly soft, you would be considered unclaimed property, available to whoever defeats me. Vanessa's new power surges in response to his anger, feeding off it and amplifying it. Then we make sure you don't lose. We? Ashton turns to look at her fully, and something like hope flickers in his expression. Vanessa, you're barely hours into your transformation. You don't know how to fight, how to channel your abilities, how to... I know how to survive, Vanessa interrupts, surprising herself with the steel in her voice. I've spent my entire life navigating vampire society from the lowest possible position, learning who to trust and who to avoid, understanding political currents and power dynamics because one wrong move could get me killed. I'm not helpless, Ashton. I'm just untrained. But the power in my blood is screaming at me right now that I'm capable of extraordinary things if you'll teach me how to access them. Ashton studies her for a long moment, then nods slowly. We have until sunset. 12 hours to turn you from a newly transformed origin being into someone who can stand before the council without appearing weak. It won't be easy. Nothing about the last 12 hours has been easy, Vanessa points out. I think I can handle a little more impossible. The slight smile that curves Ashton's mouth makes her stomach flip. Then let's begin your education in power, my mate. Because when we walk into that council chamber tonight, we're going to remind every vampire in attendance exactly why they should fear the bloodline of the first. The training begins immediately. Ashton leads Vanessa to a private courtyard shielded by ancient wards that prevent observation or interference. The space is scarred from centuries of combat practice, the stones cracked and stained, the walls bearing marks from claws and magic and weapons that no longer exist. The first power operates on pure will, Ashton explains, circling her slowly. Unlike vampire abilities, which are rooted in death magic and blood consumption, your power comes from life itself. You're a living conduit for energy that existed before death was even a concept. That makes you impossibly dangerous, if you can learn to direct it. Vanessa closes her eyes and reaches for the power humming in her veins. It responds instantly, flooding her system with heat and light and potential. I can feel it, but I don't know what to do with it. Start small. Focus on your hand. Imagine the energy concentrating there, becoming visible, tangible, usable. She tries, pushing the power toward her right hand. For a moment, nothing happens. Then her palm begins to glow with soft crimson light that grows brighter and brighter until she's holding what looks like a miniature sun. Good, Ashton says, his voice holding approval. Now throw it. Vanessa hurls the energy at the reinforced wall. It strikes the stone with explosive force, leaving a smoking crater the size of her head. She stares at the damage in shock. I did that? You did that with barely any effort and zero training. Ashton moves closer, his hand settling on her lower back. Imagine what you'll be capable of once you understand your limits. Again, this time, make it bigger. They spend hours drilling combat techniques, pushing Vanessa to access deeper wells of power. She learns to create shields that deflect physical and magical attacks. She learns to move with vampire speed, her living blood allowing her to sustain the acceleration longer than even ancient vampires can manage. She learns to sense other beings' energy signatures, to read intentions in the way their power flows. But the most important lesson comes when Ashton teaches her to weaponize her blood itself. As the new origin, your blood carries power that other vampires will find intoxicating and potentially addictive, he explains. A single drop consumed willingly creates a temporary bond of loyalty. Multiple drops over time can create permanent compulsion. If you allow it, you could build an army of vampires bound to your will absolutely. Vanessa tests this by offering a drop of blood to one of Ashton's most trusted guards, a vampire named Silas, who has served him for 8 centuries. The moment the blood touches Silas's tongue, his eyes go wide and he drops to one knee. My lady, he breathes, and the reverence in his voice is absolute. I am yours to command. How long will this last? Vanessa asks Ashton. 3 days for a single drop. A full mouthful would bind him for a year. If he consumed your blood regularly over the course of a month, the bond would become permanent and unbreakable. Ashton's expression is carefully neutral. It's the same power the first used to create the original vampire bloodlines. He gave them his blood, and they were forever bound to serve him. You could do the same if you chose. The implications make Vanessa uncomfortable. That's slavery. That's power, Ashton corrects. And in the world you're about to enter, power is the only thing that commands respect. I'm not telling you to build a bound army, Vanessa. I'm telling you to understand your capabilities so you can make informed choices about how to use them. By the time sunset approaches, Vanessa has mastered the basics of combat, energy manipulation, and blood bonding. She's exhausted but exhilarated, her new body adapting rapidly to the demand she's placing on it. Ashton has her change into formal attire appropriate for a council session, a gown of deep crimson that seems to shift and flow like liquid blood, with a neckline that displays the mate mark that has appeared at the hollow of her throat, a delicate pattern that resembles both Ashton's house sigil and something older, more primal. Ready? Ashton asks, offering his arm. Vanessa takes it, feeling the mate bond hum with approval at their contact. As ready as I'll ever be. They make their way to the council chambers with Darius and a contingent of Ashton's most loyal guards forming a protective escort. Word of the emergency session has spread throughout the kingdom, and the corridors are packed with vampires trying to catch a glimpse of the transformed human. Vanessa feels their stares like physical weight, but she keeps her head high and her expression calm. The throne room is even more crowded than it was for her near execution. Every major house has sent representatives, and the tension in the air is thick enough to choke on. Amanda stands near the center with her allied nobles, her expression triumphant when she spots Vanessa and Ashton entering. "There," she announces loudly. "The supposed mate bond that Lord Ashton claims justifies his outrageous behavior. Shall we see if this human pet actually possesses the power he says, or if this is all an elaborate deception to maintain his territory?" The council elder raises a hand for silence. "Lord Ashton, you have been formally challenged regarding your claim of blood right over the human Vanessa. Multiple houses assert that you used improper compulsion to force a bond that violates our most sacred laws. They demand you prove the legitimacy of your claim or forfeit your territory and title." Ashton's voice carries to every corner of the massive chamber. "I accept the challenge. What proof does the council require?" "Let the girl demonstrate her supposed power," another council member suggests. "If she truly integrated the first's essence as you claim, she should be able to withstand tests that would destroy an ordinary human. If she fails, we will know you fabricated the entire story to justify protecting your servant for personal reasons." "I didn't protect my servant," Ashton says coldly. "I claimed my mate. There's a significant difference. And Vanessa will be happy to demonstrate her capabilities, assuming the council is prepared to rebuild whatever she destroys in the process." Amanda laughs mockingly. "Such confidence for a human who can barely stand without trembling. Look at her, my lords. She's terrified. This is no origin being. This is a frightened girl way out of her depth." Vanessa steps forward, away from Ashton's protective presence. Her heart is racing, but her voice is steady when she speaks. "You're right that I'm afraid, Amanda. I'd be stupid not to be afraid standing in a room full of beings who could kill me in seconds. But you're wrong about what terrifies me." She walks toward the center of the chamber, toward Amanda, her movements deliberately slow and controlled. "I'm not afraid of dying. I've been close to death many times in my life. I'm not afraid of pain. I've endured plenty of that too. What terrifies me is the idea that I might prove too weak to protect the people I care about. That I might fail the one person who saw value in me when everyone else saw nothing. She stops directly in front of Amanda, close enough that the vampire could reach out and tear her throat open. So yes, I'm afraid. But I'm also done being the victim in your twisted games. Vanessa doesn't consciously decide to release her power. It simply erupts in response to her emotions, flooding outward in a wave of crimson energy that forces every vampire in the room back several steps. The air crackles with electricity, and the ancient stones beneath their feet crack from the pressure. When the energy settles, Vanessa is standing in the center of a perfect circle of destruction, completely unharmed, her eyes glowing with the same crimson fire that marks Ashton's gaze. The mate mark on her throat pulses with light in rhythm with her heartbeat. Amanda has gone completely white. Around the chamber, nobles exchange shocked glances and nervous whispers. I am Vanessa, mate to Lord Ashton, carrier of the first's living blood, and origin of a new bloodline, she announces, her voice carrying supernatural resonance. I did not ask for this power, but I will not apologize for possessing it. I stand here as proof that the first's legacy continues. That power can choose who wields it, regardless of birth or status. You can accept this reality and adjust your politics accordingly, or you can try to destroy me and discover exactly how futile that effort will be. The choice is yours. The council chambers erupt in chaos. Some nobles are arguing for immediate action against this unprecedented threat. Others are calculating how to ally themselves with this new power. Amanda is screaming accusations and demanding tests, her voice shrill with desperation. Through it all, Ashton stands at the edge of Vanessa's circle of power, pride evident in his expression. When their eyes meet across the space, the mate bond flares bright enough to be visible to everyone watching. A crimson thread of energy connecting them, pulsing with power that predates every law and custom in vampire society. The eldest council member finally restores order by slamming his staff against the stone floor hard enough to crack it. Enough! The single word echoes with compulsion magic that forces silence. He turns his ancient gaze on Vanessa, studying her with an intensity that makes her skin crawl. The power is real. The transformation is genuine. The question remains, what are you, child? Human? Vampire? Something else entirely? I'm the bridge, Vanessa says, the answer rising from her blood rather than her mind. I'm what the first intended when he created your race. I'm the missing link between mortality and immortality, life and death, beginning and eternal continuation. I am what you could have been if the first had shared his full essence instead of diluting it. The implications hit the council like a physical blow. If Vanessa represents what the first originally intended, if she carries undiluted origin power in a living bloodstream, then she's not just powerful. She's potentially the foundation for an entirely new type of vampire, one that retains human adaptability and growth while gaining immortal strength and abilities. This changes everything, one council member whispers. If she can create new bloodlines, if her blood can transform beings without killing them, then I become a resource to be controlled and exploited, Vanessa finishes bluntly. I understand the political implications. That's why I accepted Lord Ashton's mate bond. That's why I stand here under blood right protection. I will not be used as a tool for your power games. I will not allow myself to be drained or imprisoned or bred like livestock to create an army of origin vampires. I am a person, and I choose my own path. Amanda's voice cuts through the tense silence. You claim to choose your own path, but you're hiding behind Lord Ashton's protection like a coward. You speak of power, but you haven't proven you can defend yourself without him. Why should we respect your autonomy if you can't even stand on your own? It's a transparent attempt to goad Vanessa into a fight, to create a situation where Amanda can kill her and claim self-defense. But Vanessa has spent hours training for exactly this scenario. You want proof I can defend myself? Vanessa smiles, and it's not a nice expression. I challenge you, Amanda. Single combat. Right here, right now. No interference from allies or guards. Just you and me, settling this once and for all. If you win, you can present my body to the council and claim I was too weak to deserve protection. If I win, she lets the threat hang in the air. Well, we'll discuss terms of your survival if you manage to make me believe you deserve to continue existing. The chamber goes utterly silent. Challenging a centuries-old vampire to single combat when you're barely a day into your transformation is suicidal madness. Every rational being in the room knows this. Amanda certainly knows this. Which is why the predatory smile that spreads across her face is so unnerving. I accept, Amanda says immediately. And when I tear out your throat and drain your precious origin blood, Lord Ashton will understand the folly of choosing a pet over a proper vampire mate. The council creates a combat circle in the center of the chamber, ancient wards springing to life that will contain the fight and prevent outside interference. Ashton catches Vanessa's arm before she can enter the circle. You don't have to do this, he says urgently. We can find another way. There is no other way. Vanessa meets his eyes steadily. They'll never respect me if they think I'm just hiding behind your power. I need to prove I earned the mate bond, that I deserve the protection, that I'm strong enough to stand beside you. Let me do this. Ashton's jaw clenches, but he nods and releases her arm. Then trust your instincts. Trust the power in your blood. And remember, you don't fight like a vampire. You fight like something the vampires were built to serve. Vanessa steps into the combat circle. Amanda enters from the opposite side, already shifting into her full vampire form, eyes gone completely crimson, fangs extended, claws emerging from her fingertips. She looks like a nightmare given flesh, and the nobles surrounding the circle murmur in anticipation of the bloodshed. Any last words, little human? Amanda taunts. Any final pleas for mercy? Vanessa doesn't respond verbally. Instead, she reaches for the power that has been building in her blood all day, the energy that comes from being alive in a way vampires can never be again. She pulls it to the surface and lets it manifest as pure crimson flame that dances across her skin without burning her. Amanda's confidence falters for just a moment. Then she attacks with centuries of combat experience, moving faster than human eyes could track, claws aimed at Vanessa's throat. But Vanessa isn't human anymore. She sidesteps the attack with liquid grace, her new instincts reading Amanda's intentions in the flow of her energy. She strikes back with an open palm hit to Amanda's solar plexus, channeling origin power through the contact. Amanda goes flying backward, slamming into the ward barrier hard enough to crack it. She struggles to her feet, coughing blood, shock evident on her face. How? She doesn't finish the question before attacking again, this time using blood magic to create weapons of solidified crimson energy. Daggers and whips and chains of vampiric power lash out at Vanessa from multiple angles. Vanessa responds by releasing her own power in a wave that shatters Amanda's constructs like glass. The origin essence in her blood devours the death magic that fuels vampire abilities, consuming it and converting it to more power for her to wield. The fight escalates rapidly. Amanda throws every technique she's learned in her centuries of existence. Compulsion magic that slides off Vanessa's mental shields, blood curses that her living essence simply metabolizes, even attempting to drain Vanessa's blood directly by biting her arm. That proves to be a critical mistake. The moment Amanda's fangs pierce Vanessa's skin and her vampire system tastes origin blood, the compulsion takes effect instantly. Amanda's eyes go wide with horror as she realizes what she's done. That she's just consumed blood that will bind her to Vanessa's will, whether she wants it or not. Vanessa pulls her arm free, watching dispassionately as Amanda staggers backward, clutching her throat. You wanted my blood so badly. Now you have it. How does it feel, knowing you're bound to serve the human you tried to murder? No, Amanda gasps. No, this can't. I won't. Kneel, Vanessa commands, pushing just a fraction of will through the blood bond. Amanda's body obeys before her mind can resist, dropping to her knees in the center of the combat circle. Tears of rage and humiliation stream down her face as she fights the compulsion and loses. Vanessa walks slowly toward her defeated opponent, very aware that every vampire in the chamber is watching this demonstration of origin power with a mixture of awe and terror. I could make you do anything right now. I could make you confess to the council about framing me. I could make you apologize for every cruel word and action. I could make you suffer the way you intended to make me suffer. She crouches down until they're eye level. But I'm not going to do any of that. Instead, I'm going to give you a choice. Amanda's expression shifts from terror to confusion. What? The blood bond from a single bite will fade in about 3 days. You can spend those 3 days in exile, thinking about why you hate yourself so much that you needed to destroy others to feel powerful. When the bond breaks, you'll be free to return to vampire society if you choose, though I suspect your allied houses won't be quite so eager to support you after watching you lose to a day-old origin being. Vanessa stands, looking down at Amanda with something closer to pity than hatred. Or you can accept permanent binding and serve my house, using your political skills and knowledge for something productive instead of destructive. It's your choice. You have 3 days to decide. She turns to face the council, leaving Amanda kneeling in the circle. I don't want to rule through fear or compulsion. I don't want to build an empire of bound servants or create an army of origin vampires. What I want is to live in peace with the mate I've chosen, to learn to control my abilities, to find my place in this new world I've been thrust into. Her voice strengthens. But I will not accept threats or challenges or political maneuvering that treats me as property to be claimed. I am Vanessa, origin of a new bloodline, mate to Lord Ashton, and I claim autonomy over my own existence. Anyone who tries to take that from me will face the consequences. The eldest council member studies her for a long moment, then nods slowly. The challenge is satisfied. Lord Ashton's blood right claim is legitimate. Lady Vanessa will be recognized as an independent power under the protection of House Ashton. He looks around the chamber at the assembled nobles. Let it be known that the origin bloodline has returned to the world. We will adjust our laws and customs accordingly. It's not everything Vanessa hoped for, but it's enough. The formal recognition means other houses can't simply attack her without provocation. It means she has legal standing in vampire society. It means she and Ashton have space to breathe and plan their future. Amanda is escorted from the chamber by her former allies, who look significantly less confident about their challenge now that they've seen origin power in action. The combat circle dissolves, and nobles begin filing out in small groups, already strategizing about how to adjust their political positions in light of this new reality. Ashton crosses the space between them in 3 long strides, pulling Vanessa into his arms the moment she's clear of the official council area. Don't ever do that to me again, he says against her hair. Watching you fight without being able to intervene was the longest 15 minutes of my existence. I won, Vanessa points out, leaning into his embrace. I proved I could defend myself. I earned their respect. You terrified them, Ashton corrects, which is arguably better than respect in vampire politics. But still. He pulls back enough to look at her face. You took a risk that could have ended catastrophically. But it didn't. Vanessa reaches up to touch the mate mark at her throat, feeling it pulse in response to Ashton's presence. We're safe now. We have recognition and protection and time to figure out what comes next. What comes next, Ashton says slowly, is that we complete the mate bond properly. Tonight was political necessity, but I want to perform the blood ritual that will permanently link our lives and our power. I want to give you my blood, as you've unknowingly given me yours through the origin essence. I want to stand before our house and our allies and declare you not just my mate, but my eternal partner, my co-ruler, my equal in all things. Vanessa's heart races at the intensity in his eyes. When? Now. Tonight. While the council is still reeling from your demonstration, and before they have time to create new obstacles. Ashton's hand cups her face. Unless you need more time to consider. I don't need more time! Vanessa covers his hand with hers. I chose you in that throne room when you saved me from execution. I chose you again when I accepted the mate bond. I choose you now, permanently and eternally. Let's do this. The blood ritual takes place in Ashton's private chambers with only his most trusted inner circle as witnesses. Darius stands as official recorder, documenting the ceremony for house records. A handful of loyal guards maintain the perimeter, ensuring no interruptions. And Silas, still bound by the temporary blood connection to Vanessa, serves as the ceremonial blade bearer. The ritual itself is ancient and beautiful, involving an exchange of blood while standing in a circle of power that amplifies supernatural bonds. Ashton cuts his palm and offers his blood to Vanessa first, speaking the old words that bind a vampire to his chosen mate. I offer my blood, my strength, my protection, my eternal devotion. I bind myself to you across lifetimes and beyond death. I claim you as mine and give myself as yours. Vanessa drinks from his palm, tasting power that's different from her own but complementary, and feeling the mate bond flare brighter as their essences mingle. Then she cuts her own palm and offers it to Ashton, speaking her half of the vow. I offer my blood, my trust, my partnership, my complete acceptance. I bind myself to you across time and possibility. I claim you as mine and give myself as yours. When Ashton drinks from her palm, his eyes go wide with wonder. The origin blood is different than it was before, transformed by her living system into something unique. It doesn't compel him or bind his will. Instead, it resonates with his own power, creating a feedback loop that amplifies both their abilities exponentially. The mate mark at Vanessa's throat expands and shifts, incorporating elements of Ashton's house sigil while maintaining its connection to the origin power. When the ritual completes, they're bound so tightly that they can feel each other's heartbeats, sense each other's emotions, communicate telepathically if they choose. "How do you feel?" Ashton asks aloud, though Vanessa can sense the question echoing in her mind simultaneously. "Complete," she whispers. "Like I've been missing a part of myself my entire life, and just now found it." She looks around at the witnesses, seeing their awed expressions. What happens now? Do we announce this to the kingdom? Make some kind of formal declaration? "Now," Darius says with a slight smile, "you get to enjoy about 6 hours of peace before every ambitious vampire in the territory starts sending requests for audience, proposals for alliance, and probably a few more challenges from nobles who think they can succeed where Amanda failed." Vanessa groans. "I just wanted a quiet life cleaning floors." "You integrated the blood of the first," Ashton points out, amusement coloring his voice. "Quiet was never going to be an option after that, but—" He dismisses the witnesses with a gesture, leaving them alone in the bedchamber. "We do have these 6 hours, and I intend to use them to show my mate exactly how devotedly I plan to honor our bond." The promise in his words makes Vanessa's breath catch. They spend the remaining hours of night exploring their new connection, learning how to communicate through the bond, pushing their combined powers to see how far they can reach together. They also spend time simply being present with each other, talking about their hopes and fears for the future, making plans for how to navigate vampire society as a bonded pair. When dawn breaks across the kingdom for the second time since Vanessa's transformation, she stands at the window watching the sunrise without fear. Ashton comes to stand beside her, his hand finding hers automatically. "Ready for the chaos that's about to begin?" he asks. Vanessa thinks about everything she's survived in the past 24 hours. The false accusation and near execution, the accidental integration of origin blood, the mate bond formation, the combat with Amanda, the formal recognition by the council, the completion of the blood ritual. "I survived being a powerless human in a vampire kingdom," she says finally. "I survived Amanda's schemes and the council's prejudice. I survived a transformation that should have killed me and a combat trial that should have destroyed me. I think I can handle some ambitious nobles trying to curry favor." "That's my mate," Ashton says with satisfaction. "Practical, brave, and possessing exactly the right amount of irreverence for vampire politics." A knock at the door announces Darius's return. "My lord, my lady, we have 17 formal requests for audience, 12 proposals of alliance, and 3 more challenges. Also, Lady Amanda has sent word that she wishes to speak with Lady Vanessa, privately, before her 3 days of temporary binding expire." Vanessa and Ashton exchange glances. "Let's start with Amanda," Vanessa decides. "I want to know what she's planning before we deal with everyone else." Amanda arrives an hour later, looking significantly more humble than she did at the council session. The temporary blood bond means she couldn't refuse the summons, but her expression suggests she came willingly regardless. She kneels the moment she enters the room, a gesture of respect rather than compulsion. "My lady," she says quietly, "I came to apologize." Vanessa studies her former tormentor carefully, reading her energy signature through her new senses. The hatred and jealousy that defined Amanda before are still present, but they're muted now, overshadowed by something that looks like genuine remorse and a lot of fear. "Explain," Vanessa says simply. Amanda takes a shaky breath. "The blood bond showed me things about myself I'd been refusing to see. My obsession with Lord Ashton wasn't really about him at all. It was about proving I had value, that I deserved to be chosen, that centuries of existence meant something. When he kept refusing me, it felt like confirmation that I was worthless. And when he protected you, a human servant, it destroyed the entire framework I'd built my identity around." She looks up, meeting Vanessa's eyes directly. "I tried to kill you not because you were a threat, but because you represented everything I couldn't accept about myself. That power and status and immortality don't automatically make someone worthy of love." It's the most honest thing Vanessa has ever heard Amanda say. "And now? What do you want now?" "I want to serve your house." Amanda's voice is steady. "Not because the blood bond compels me, but because watching you fight showed me what real strength looks like. You had every reason to humiliate me, to make me suffer, to bind me permanently as a warning to others. But instead, you gave me a choice and a chance to change. That's power I want to learn. That's the kind of leader I want to follow." Ashton, who has been silent throughout this exchange, finally speaks. "If we accept you into our house, you'll be starting from the bottom. No special status because of your age or your former alliances. You'll serve Vanessa directly, helping her navigate vampire politics, teaching her what you know about power structures and social dynamics. You'll be bound permanently, not through blood compulsion, but through oath of loyalty. Can you accept those terms?" Amanda nods immediately. "I can. I want to. Please." Vanessa considers carefully. Having Amanda as a permanent member of their household could be incredibly useful. She knows everyone in vampire society, understands how politics work, and could serve as a bridge to nobles who might be wary of the origin bloodline. But it's also a risk, bringing someone who tried to murder her into their inner circle. The mate bond carries Ashton's thoughts to her. "Trust your instincts. If you think she's genuine, I'll support your decision." 3 months trial period, Vanessa says finally. "You'll swear a temporary oath of loyalty and serve our house while proving you're serious about this change. If at the end of 3 months we all agree it's working, we'll make it permanent with full blood bonding and official adoption into House Ashton. If it's not working," she lets the threat hang in the air, "then we'll revisit the question of what to do with you." Relief floods Amanda's face. "Thank you, my lady. I won't disappoint you." "See that you don't," Ashton says coldly, "because Vanessa might be merciful, but I hold grudges for centuries. Betray her trust, and you'll discover exactly how creative I can be with punishment." Over the following weeks, Vanessa settles into her new role as Lady of House Ashton and origin of a new bloodline. Amanda proves surprisingly useful, teaching her the intricate dance of vampire politics and introducing her to key nobles. The various challenges and requests for audience get handled with a mixture of diplomacy and demonstration of power. 2 more foolish vampires try to challenge her directly, and both end up bound to her service through blood compulsion after forcing her to defend herself. She also begins experimenting carefully with creating new bloodlines. Unlike the first who simply gave his blood to chosen vessels, Vanessa discovers she can blend her origin essence with a vampire's existing nature to create hybrid beings that retain vampire strengths while gaining some of her living energy. The first successful transformation is performed on a dying vampire child who had been turned too young and was slowly deteriorating. After receiving Vanessa's blood through careful ritual, the child stabilizes and begins to grow again. The first vampire in history capable of maturing past the age they were turned. The implications are revolutionary, and the Council grudgingly acknowledges that the origin bloodline might be a solution to several long-standing vampire problems, rather than just a threat to their authority. 6 months after her transformation, Vanessa stands in the Grand Hall of House Ashton during a formal gathering of allied houses. She's wearing a gown of deepest crimson, embroidered with both her origin mark and Ashton's house sigil, her mate mark visible at her throat. Ashton stands beside her, his hand resting possessively on her waist, the mate bond between them visible as a constant shimmer of crimson energy. Amanda, now officially sworn to their house and genuinely reformed, manages their social calendar and political negotiations. Darius and Silas command their security forces, and Vanessa has quietly gathered a small group of loyal vampires who have accepted her blood and formed the core of a new hybrid bloodline that combines undead strength with living adaptability. The council elder approaches with a proposal that makes Vanessa's heart race. Lady Vanessa, the Council has discussed at length the implications of your existence and your demonstrated ability to create stable hybrid vampires. We wish to propose a formal treaty that would recognize you as the mother of a new vampire bloodline, grant you sovereign territory independent of even House Ashton's holdings, and establish protocols for how hybrid vampires will be integrated into our society. It's everything Vanessa might have hoped for. Official recognition not just as Ashton's mate or a powerful anomaly, but as a legitimate leader of a new vampire faction. But accepting it means taking on responsibilities and dangers she never imagined when she was just a servant trying to survive. She feels Ashton's support through the mate bond, his absolute confidence in her ability to handle whatever she chooses. The decision is hers alone. I accept the Council's proposal, Vanessa says clearly, on the condition that my hybrid bloodline will be recognized as equals to traditional vampires in all legal and social contexts. No discrimination based on their living nature. No restrictions on their rights or privileges. They are vampires in every way that matters, and they will be treated as such. The council elder nods slowly. Agreed. We will draft the treaty accordingly. That night, after the political negotiations conclude and the gathered nobles finally leave, Vanessa and Ashton retreat to their private chambers. She collapses onto the sofa, exhausted but satisfied. Mother of a new bloodline, she says wonderingly. A year ago, I was scrubbing floors. Now, I'm apparently the foundation for an entirely new faction of vampire society. Ashton settles beside her, pulling her into his arms. You were always extraordinary. The origin blood simply revealed what was already there. Your strength, your compassion, your ability to lead even when terrified. I couldn't have done any of this without you. Vanessa turns to face him fully. Without you saving me that first night, teaching me to fight, standing beside me through every challenge. We saved each other, Ashton interrupts. I'd been existing for 3,000 years, Vanessa. Just existing. Going through the motions, protecting territory and maintaining power structures because that's what I'd always done. You gave me purpose again. You reminded me what it means to actually live rather than just survive immortality. They sit in comfortable silence for a while, the mate bond humming contentedly between them. Then Vanessa asks the question that's been building in her mind for weeks. What do we do now? We have recognition and power and allies. We've dealt with the immediate threats. We've established our place in vampire society. What comes next? Ashton's expression softens into something almost shy. We build a life together. We expand your hybrid bloodline carefully and responsibly. We navigate vampire politics and maintain our territory and probably deal with new challenges every century or so. He pauses, then adds quietly, and eventually, if you want, we consider creating a family. You're the first vampire in history capable of bearing children, hybrid offspring that could inherit your origin power and create an entirely new dynasty. The suggestion takes Vanessa's breath away. She hasn't thought that far ahead, hasn't considered the implications of being a living vampire capable of biological reproduction. But the idea of building something permanent with Ashton, of creating a family and a legacy that extends beyond just political power, fills her with unexpected joy. "I'd like that," she whispers. "Not immediately. I need more time to master my abilities and establish my bloodline and figure out what I'm doing. But someday I want to build that future with you." Ashton kisses her then, deep and claiming and full of promise. When they finally break apart, his eyes are glowing crimson with emotion. "Then that's what we'll do. We'll take our time. We'll build our power base. We'll create something unprecedented in vampire history. And we'll do it together, as equals, as mates, as partners in every sense of the word." Vanessa leans back against his chest, feeling his arms wrap around her protectively. Through the window, dawn is breaking across their territory, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson. She watches the sunrise without fear, secure in her power and her place and her future. A year ago, she was nothing, just a human servant trying to survive in a predator's world. Today, she's the origin of a new bloodline, the mate of the kingdom's most powerful lord, and the mother of a hybrid vampire race that will change supernatural society forever. It all started with a shattered decanter and blood spilled by mistake, but it became something far greater. A love story between a human and a vampire, a transformation that rewrote the rules of existence, and a partnership that proved, even in a world of death and darkness, life always finds a way to begin again. Did you like the story? Do you want a part 2? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Also, tell us which state you're watching from so I can give you a shout out in the next video. Don't forget to subscribe so you can stay updated on our next uploads. Thanks for watching!